Hey guys, it's Kris with Reformed Grognard here, back with another bi-monthly rundown of the best RPG and RPG accessory projects on Kickstarter right now. A reminder that this is projects, for the most part, that are ending in the next 2 weeks. There's a ton of RPG stuff live on Kickstarter right now, particularly stuff that ends in the next 14 days. So I had a hard time narrowing this down. This is not everything. These are just ones that I think are interesting or deserve a little more attention than they're currently getting. To start out, we have Hyperlight Drifter, the role-playing game. This is based off of a 16-bit video game that I haven't played but looks awesome. I love the name. Hyperlight Drifter is great. I'm not as sold on the RPG. I do like the idea of it, and the PDF is only $15, which is pretty reasonable. My biggest problem with it that I'm finding so far is that the art in the game, which is beautiful, is not necessarily represented in the RPG. The RPG looks like it's got a lot more animated, just sort of hand-drawn cell style, and I don't love it the way I do the cel-shaded 16-bit look. So that's kind of weird. I think it's really odd to create an aesthetic and then not use it during the RPG. I do like that it's take place on a different continent than the video game, but it's got like the soundtrack to go with it and everything that kind of helps capture the mood and feel of the video game, so it looks cool. Hyperlight Drifter, they're at 41,000 out of 50,000, so they're a little tight, but I don't think they launched very long ago, so I think they'll probably definitely hit their goal. Next up, we have some minis and terrain accessory products, including lots of goblins, weirdly. First up is Goya Games Orc and Barbarian miniatures. These guys are probably going to struggle to hit their goal, and it's unfortunate because their minis are beautiful. Look at the detail in these guys. They just look absolutely excellent. The problem with it is this is their first Kickstarter, which is always hard. I kind of wish they'd started with something a little smaller to begin instead of diving all in. There's a ton of add-ons that you can do with it, or you can just like dive in and get the warband factions. So it's $37 for the warband and the war chief of the orcs. The problem is it's kind of vague as to exactly what that means. It looks like it's these guys right here, but they're not super clear because there are a lot of other orcs thrown in here as well. So it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like they created a tremendous amount of characters, and it's almost overwhelming to look at it this way. I also think it's strange that they don't really have a lot of clarity about what you get for the pledges. But it looks awesome. I actually really hope this succeeds just because I really like their designs and the detail they put in them. But I'm probably going to end up having to pass on it right now just because it's not cheap, but it's worth it. They look really nice, and they're resin sculpts and everything, but man, they're a little spendy, but man, they're cool looking. So if you're looking for some really nice looking Barbarians in particular, I love the detail they put into the fur and the studded armor and the bones. It's really cool. These guys would be super fun to paint. Next up is a weirdly named Goblin Infantry, and that may be a word that I'm just unfamiliar with, but I can't not see Tug Job every time I see it, which means something else entirely. Don't Google it. Yeah, so these guys have hit their goal of $102. They're metal 15 mil goblins, and I believe the name comes from the sculptor's nickname with Gob at the end of it, but it's kind of a weird choice. However, they look great. They're just old school goblins, which I love. I've really been interested in the 15mm line more recently. I like the idea of scale that it offers up, but it's it's tricky. They're super reasonably priced, generally speaking. Like these guys here, you can get 3 command kits, 3 character kits, and 15 kits of 4 rank and file infantry for $45. I mean, it's insanely reasonable. It's worded, again, what you get for the pledges is very confusingly worded on this page. But if you're willing to dive in and you're looking for some 15 mil old school big nosed goblins, these guys are pretty great. Next up, we've got Goblins of the World. Freedom! So if you're looking for the one with the bare butts, this is the one you're looking for. I believe these guys are 28 mil scale, if I remember correctly. They run about $7 for a single pack of them. And they've got Goblin Mooners and Warriors. And these guys, again, have that old school classic metal hand sculpted goblin look to them. The casualties are very funny. I don't know. These look really fun as well. Then we've got the upper end of goblins with the Forest Kith goblins. Yes, all 3 of these are active on Kickstarter right now. These ones are beautiful. The amount of detail and sculpt in this is gorgeous. I think that their take on goblins is really interesting, and they're close to hitting their goal, but they're not quite there. And I would love to see them do more stuff. I think this is this is not their first Kickstarter. They have done a pretty good amount of previous Kickstarters and all sculpt. They actually did a hamster one, which is hilarious. So they do a lot of really unique character sculpts with just an amazing amount of detail in them. Look at these guys. The Evil Chief. They're big, actually. I hadn't noticed that. So they're 75 mil, which explains the level of detail in them, but makes them almost unplayable for me, unfortunately. I wish I'd noticed that. I get the idea of the larger minis, but it just makes it really frustrating from a purchasing standpoint unless you're literally just in it for the looks and the painting. But those are cool looking anyway, so I thought I'd point those out. Next up, we have Future Vehicles, which is a STL file system where you can buy them in different sizes. They have 6, 15, and 28 millimeter scales. They're all very Blade Runner-y inspired. There's a little bit of DeLorean action, some old-timey stuff, an ad blimp. This looks really fun. They have like floater stands and stuff that you can purchase, I think. I'm not sure exactly how those work. They include flight stands, which is interesting. I believe these are primarily STL files, but maybe you can have them. Yeah, I don't know exactly how you get the stands, but they're cool anyway. Super reasonable too. Like each vehicle in 6 millimeter is $31. Which is tiny. Those are tiny little vehicles. But they do have all of the STLs for $56, and then you can print them at whatever scale you want. But they're cool. I think they're very retro-futuristic, which I love. Now we're getting into some adventure modules and game systems. First off is a Savage Realms Escape from Darkmoor Keep adventure. So this is the second book from Endgame Gaming that's set in the same world, and the art's wonderful looking. It's a multi-quest game book written in the style of Choose Your Own Adventures. Now this is an interesting one to me because it doesn't feel like an adventure to me. I'm very interested in this, and I may end up backing it anyway, just because I think it's really cool. But I feel like it's something I would just sit down and read. The pages are literally, if you go this way, turn to chapter 66. And there's both pluses and negatives to that, in my opinion. It makes it less roleplay-y, as opposed to just having the adventures laid out traditionally. And it also limits your choices in a lot of ways. But I do think it's interesting. They do have some tweaks and rule adjustments for multiple players and not just soloable. And I think that could either become something really fun or become very awkward very quickly. So I'm interested in it. It looks cool. Next up is The Realm of the Gateway, which is a very old school tabletop RPG. The art just absolutely speaks to me, to those old school ash can RPGs I used to pick up at Ozone Comics for like $5 that some local guy printed in his basement. And it has that feel to it. It's got like different realms. There's sci-fi cities and fantasy cities and post-apocalypse cities, and the actual combat system is kind of different. It's kind of interesting. It's all based off of your mass and constitution for hit points. It's kind of neat. I like the concept of it, and the PDF's super reasonable. It's like $10 or something like that. Where are we at? You can go all the way in, but okay, so the printed book and the PDF is $50, but they have a lot more reasonable price points. Like if you want just the PDF of the core books, you can get it for like $20, $30. So it's pretty cool looking. I really like supporting this type of stuff. The old school, just creative, weird, funky RPGs. Speaking of which, we've got Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, which is using the Black Hack system of RPGs and is based on Thundar the Barbarian with some fun retro punk art in it. And this looks really fun. I am super interested in this. The book itself, the PDF, is $15. Now, my only real complaint about this, because I love everything about it, I love the art, I think that the concept and the idea of it is great. I loved Thundar the Barbarian growing up. Look how fun this is. Like, the different classes are Barbarian, Death Priest, Scavenger, and Urchin. And then you've got races as classes, which include robots. But it's really fun. It's got all sorts of table generators and weaponized animals from Pirates of the Dark Water inspired. It looks really fun. It's all printed and fulfilled by DriveThruRPG, and that's my only real complaint with this particular one, is it's something I would want in physical form. And to do that, you have to pledge $30 for it, which gets you a PDF as well, and then it gets you the code to purchase the downloaded printed copy of it, which is a little risky because then you're talking about another $20 on top of the $30, so it becomes a $50 book, which is not unreasonable, but it's a little higher than I would expect for this type of game. But it looks really fun. I feel like I would be really missing out not having it physically, and it's going to be about 165 pages, 6x10 graphic novel sized, so I obviously love that. But it looks great. Look at the art in it. It looks so fun. Great use of color, great graphic design. I definitely recommend this game if it feels like it's down your alley. Next up is Forbidden Lands, the Bitter Reach campaign, and a reprint of their original one. It's doing great, 168,000 with 4 days to go. I hate it when they put these up there, but funded in 13 minutes, guys. So this is old school, hardcover, beautiful 200-plus page book about an icy tundra that works in the Forbidden Lands rules update. I believe there's some adjustments for this so that you can play it with other RPG modes as well. But look at the art in this thing. It's beautiful. I love the art in Forbidden Lands. I think the ink and tone style of it is just such a perfect fit for RPGs. I just think it's beautiful. Alvaro Tapia does their art, and it's gorgeous stuff. I just love it. So I really want to get this. I haven't pledged it yet, but I probably will end up pledging. I believe the book itself is Let's see. The combo bundle, $62, and that gets you the deluxe campaign book in printed format, a PDF version, all stretch goals, and the second printing of the 2 hardcover books from their previous one. $62 for that is actually super reasonable. If you already have the system, you can get just this one in digital for $16. But man, the art in this really deserves to be seen printed. It's beautiful stuff. We have Historia, a dark fantasy renaissance setting for 5e, and this is all anthropomorphized animals. And I'm of two minds about this concept. I think this game looks great. First, right off the bat, it looks really cool. The PDF's $18. It's probably worth picking up if you have an interest in playing animals in 5e. I really like the concept of this. The art's beautiful, but it also really puts me off at just how animal head tacked onto a body they are, and sometimes that really bothers me. I mean, they look cool. They look really neat. I just don't know how I feel about a world of just animals that are also shaped like humans and take place in the same world as that type of stuff. For me, it's weird. Like, I love Root and Mice and Mystics and Redwall and all of that type of thing, where the characters are the size that they would take place in. But when they're as anthropomorphized into such blatantly Homo erectus forms, I have a harder time with it. But that said, that's just the art in the game. The characters and the world they've created looks really fun, and you don't necessarily have to have them look exactly like that when you're playing. That's why they call it Theater of the Mind. But anyway, that's called Historia, dark fantasy renaissance setting. And they're doing great, so it's, yeah. They got 5 days left on that. Next up is a kind of opposite thing. We've got Low Fantasy Gaming, and this is a companion with expanded options for the Low Fantasy Gaming RPG system, which I have seen but I haven't played, but I like it. Basically, Low Fantasy Gaming is less outrageous magic. It's a little more realistic. In some ways, the first few books of Game of Thrones are kind of low fantasy in a lot of ways, where they talk about the history as if it's legit big magic, but in the current world you live in, it's not as over the top. These are all fulfilled through Drive-Thru RPG, and this is their second one of these. The first one was the base one. So if you want to get this, if it looks interesting to you, you probably want to pick up the base game as well. Finally, we have Scarred Lands Creature Collection for 5e, and this is just an old school collection of creatures. So if you're looking for more weird beasties, this is a great pick. It's $15 for the PDF or $45 for the hardcover collection. I think it looks really fun. The art in it's great. They have some kind of unique, different creatures on it. I like the graphic design a lot. The little terrain tabs are kind of a fun way to show where you might find the creatures just as you're flipping through if you're looking for some beastie to confront someone in a marsh. I think it looks excellent. It's a very nicely designed book with really good art. The deluxe version's amazing. I love that skull. It's super cool. But yeah, so that is the rundown for RPGs for the 2 weeks spanning September 28th through around October 12th. A few of these you'll notice went a little longer than that, but that's because I wasn't 100% sure when this would post. Enjoy, as always. May you live in interesting times. If you'd like to support us, please click like and subscribe for the channel. That helps grow it. You can also find us on Instagram at DeeplyDapperGames or on Patreon at patreon.com/DeeplyDapper. You can also listen to our other podcasts and find our shop at DeeplyDapperGames.com. This October, we'll be releasing our first tabletop game, Creature Features, and fulfilling our Kickstarter rewards for that same game. You'll also be able to find us at a number of conventions around the United States, including Reno Pop Culture Con, FearCon in Salt Lake City, Anime Bonsai in Layton, Utah, and we have just been accepted into BGG-Con and PAX South, but we haven't officially confirmed those appearances yet. But we're really looking forward to it. We'd love to see you guys out at one of the shows. Thanks for watching.